Yes, 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 yes. We are back. We are back for another episode of Quiet Storm Sports with your host here. My name is Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to you who's watching or listening to this video. You might be watching on YouTube, you might be watching on X right now, you might be watching on Kick, which we're newly streaming on, or you might be listening on one of your favorite podcasting platforms, which you can now download the Purple Rain podcast on any podcasting platform of your choosing. So, just want to get that housekeeping stuff out of the way. But again, thank you guys for joining this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Much to talk about, much to discuss. Ravens obviously getting a W over the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. 31-13 was the final score. Defense looked really good. I took some notes from that game. I actually got to watch that one in its entirety, unlike the first preseason game that took place. But we're going to get into that. Before we do, though, make sure you like this video, leave a like on the video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I'd appreciate that so very much. It helps us out a ton, especially going into the season. We want to make sure that as many people as possible can see the wonderful content that we got coming out from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. So if you could, if you could spend a second, only takes a second, right? To like the video. If you do want to support the channel monetarily, we do have memberships available. You guys saw at the very beginning of the show our beautiful list of members. Shout out to them. They are goated individuals. Will always be shouted out throughout every single episode of the show. But listen, I really wanted to talk about not only the Ravens in this video. I wanted to also talk about UFC 319, which took place last night, and I have some thoughts about the main event. They're not like, I don't know, man. It was. I'll just put it like this. I was a little bit disappointed, but still satisfied, and I'll get to that down the line. I promise you. We got King Blaze in the house. What's going on? And Point says we live and leave a like. Absolutely, I'd appreciate that. Appreciate that so much. But I think we're gonna go ahead and dive into the Ravens game first. So the Ravens again took on the Cowboys yesterday, and it was a pretty lopsided affair when you consider the amount of offense that the Cowboys were able to get off. So let me actually share my screen with you guys here. Um, Let me see. Denise David says, I went to the game. The atmosphere was great. I must say, Cowboys fans are very welcoming to us Ravens fans. I kind of felt a similar way when I went to a game out in Houston, the Christmas game last season. You know, a lot of the Houston fans didn't really, they didn't have a problem with me wearing my Lamar jersey or anything like that. I was talking some crap, which I'm sure maybe you were too, Denise. I hope you were talking some crap in your Lamar jersey or whatever jersey you were wearing. But yeah, I mean, I think that you know, Texas football fans are so far removed from having to worry about the Baltimore Ravens that it's just like, why would you have an issue with us? Like, it's not like we're, the Commanders. It's not like we're, the Eagles, a team like that that's in division or maybe even in conference, something like that. 49ers or something. No, I mean, we rarely ever see the Dallas Cowboys or, uh yeah, we rarely ever see the Dallas Cowboys, but it was it was a good game, and I'm glad that the atmosphere you said is good was good there. That is actually very nice to hear. But okay, let me go ahead and share my screen before I forget. Let me see. Okay. All right. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at the box score breakdown from the Ravens 31-13 victory over the Cowboys. A couple of things I want to point out here before I just kind of go through my notes because I was taking notes throughout the entire game and I got some pretty uh interesting stuff that I took from it that I want to share with you guys. But just starting off here, Cooper Rush was a big, kind of question mark going into this game. Okay, how was he going to perform going into game two? Obviously, did not perform very well at all in week one. Really, none of the Ravens' backup quarterbacks did well in week one. So it was going to be an interesting step to see how those guys bounced back. And you see here, Cooper Rush was 20 for 30 attempts, 198 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions with a 68.5 quarterback rating. Now, the thing about Cooper Rush, I mean, he had an early touchdown, I believe, to Keith Kirkwood, but then he threw a pick six, and then he had another interception as well. And I think it does officially call for some sort of concern when it comes to backup quarterback on the Ravens. Because, God forbid Lamar Jackson were to get hurt or, he has his annual tummy ache or something like that mid-season, and he can't start a game. I don't have a lot, if any, faith in Cooper Rush to be our starting quarterback, and actually go out there and win his games. I just don't. I don't have that type of faith in Cooper Rush. Um, and the main reason is I just think that there's just so much of a difference in the style of offense that you have to run from Lamar Jackson to Cooper Rush, right? It's night and day. It's night and day. So when you take that into consideration, like I think that the flow and the rhythm of the entire offense is just thrown off with Cooper Rush in. I mean, it just is what it is. He's a traditional drop back, pocket passing quarterback. And I think I'll say this. You know how a lot of national media does not consider the Ravens to have a top wide receiver room in the league. As a matter of fact, I think that if you ask most national media members, right, they would probably rank the Ravens wide receiver group with, Zay Flowers at the helm, Rashad Bateman at the 2, DeAndre Hopkins at the 3. You got Tylan Wallace, Tez Walker, and the like. They would probably rate that as about a middle of the pack wide receiver room. So when you take that quote unquote middle of the pack wide receiver room, and let's just assume that that is about correct, right? When you take a middle of the pack or average, for lack of better words, wide receiver room, and you pair that with an average quarterback, you're not going to be able to expect big results. Like I think that basically what I'm trying to say is Lamar Jackson elevates the play of his guys by being able to do certain things like, extending the play, resetting the pocket, giving his guys extra opportunities to make things happen. This is another reason why Rashad Bateman has come on very strong recently, right? Because he now understands that, okay, to play with this quarterback, Lamar Jackson, I have to make myself constantly available for Lamar, and Lamar Jackson understands that. Rashad Bateman understands that now, and that's why that connection, that chemistry has been growing. And of course, we haven't seen Cooper Rush with the ones as of yet, like the ones on offense, like the Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. We haven't seen him with those guys in a real game. I don't think we're gonna see him until sometime in the regular season, and that's again if Lamar goes down. But and I'm gonna knock on wood there. Hold on. But again, man, I just think that Cooper Rush, again, he's nothing special at all. I mean, there's no X factor ability when it comes to Cooper Rush. You're really just kind of wanting him to manage the game. And the fact that he goes out there and he throws interceptions and he turns the ball over, that's the main part that worries me. Because if there is a scenario where we need a Cooper Rush to start a football game, right? If the Ravens need Cooper Rush to start, all we're really going to be asking him to do is, hey, look, do not turn the football over. Put the ball in Derrick Henry's belly and just, when it's third and long, just make a throw, but don't throw it to the other team. Like that's all we're asking you to do. Just manage this football game. Our defense will do most of the work. And I'm going to get to the defense in a second because I was very, very impressed with what I saw from the defense. But again, when it comes to Cooper Rush, I'm just, I have worries. I have my doubts, man. I have my doubts. Devin Leary didn't really look, too hot either. 5 for 10, 53 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. If you go over to the Dallas side of the football, you had Joe Milton, who played most of this game. Will Greer backed them up at the end, but Joe Milton played the majority of snaps in this game. He went 9 for 18 throwing the football, so 50% on the dot there. 122 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The 1 interception that he threw was actually to number 30, Ruben Lowry, who has been turning some heads in training camp, in Ravens training camp. So I think that Ruben Lowry, granted, the pick that he caught was kind of like it's kind of like one of those pop fly picks. Like it was honestly reminiscent of like an arm punt sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like Joe Milton, he's known to not have the best touch when he throws the football. He threw it very deep, and it kind of landed in right in his numbers, Ruben Lowry's. Right, it was a very easy catch. Um, but shout out to Ruben Lowry. But Joe Milton in this game, man, I mean, it just again did not. I mean, against the Ravens, man, that's not the defense. I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, postseason, even, right? That's not the defense to have a young quarterback stand in front of. It just isn't. Like historically speaking, there hasn't been many young quarterbacks, and I think Joe Milton falls right there in that category. Um, there hasn't been many that have, stifled the Ravens defense or overcome the Ravens defense. It just doesn't happen all that much. But Joe Milton is a guy who I actually do like. I want to see him do well. I think he's kind of like in that Anthony Richardson type of realm, if you know what I mean. Um, but again, he's behind Dak, so we'll see what ends up happening there. But I think he does have promise, though. He did have a nice ball that he threw to I can't remember. I think it was Jonathan Mingo. He hit a deep ball to Jonathan Mingo with TJ Tampa in coverage, and it was deep down the right sideline, and it was a beautiful throw. Beautiful throw. Dropped it right in the bucket, only where his guy could get it. And it sucks to see TJ Tampa get beat like that, but I was more impressed with what Joe Milton was able to put on tape right then and there. And it's plays like that, it's plays like that that I think will keep guys like Joe Milton. Anthony Richardson had a really nice throw yesterday as well. It's plays like that that'll keep these guys kind of around, and relevant, and kind of mysterious in a way, right? There's a certain like level of mystique to the that these guys have, that like, okay, well, what if we try to develop this guy? We can turn his raw skills and raw talent into actual, NFL level production. Um, I think that's kind of the idea. Let me see what you guys are saying about the quarterbacks here. Denise says we need Snoop back or a Jameis Wilson. I guess you mean Winston. Yeah, I mean, I always liked having Snoop Huntley as Lamar Jackson's backup. I'm not quite sure why the Ravens didn't just, try to pursue Snoop Huntley or try to just keep him around, because he's just such like again and again, he's not Lamar. He's not Lamar. But he does offer the offense the luxury of not having to completely change the playbook and the style of offense that is run, like changing the scheme on the fly. You don't necessarily have to do that with a Tyler Huntley, right? Like, because Tyler Huntley still poses some of those same threats running the football. Again, he's not Lamar. He's not nearly as electric, as fast, as quick, as agile. Not at all, right? Lamar Jackson is an absolute unicorn. But Tyler Huntley does still threaten teams with his leg. He threatens defenses with his legs, right? Something that Cooper Rush, no pun intended, can't do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, Denise. I think that that would be a good option. She says if Colts drop Anthony Richardson, we can probably get him to be Lamar's backup. That would be something, right? That would be something. See what else you guys are saying in the chat. I think I missed some chats in here. Russian keep more from our game 2. I mean, you say he improved a little bit, and I guess this is where we can get into the next thing that I took from the game, right? So my thing is this. I think that Cooper Rush had some good throws, but I also think that the recipient of a lot of those throws, and his name is Tez Walker, I think that it was just better catches, better routes run, um, better finding your soft spot in the zone, beating your guy, getting a step on your man, and then coming down with the catch. Devontae Walker had himself a game. He had himself a game, and you guys can see it here on the screen if I would scroll down a little bit. Let me actually let me zoom in. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Get a little zoom action going. Yeah, that's good. I'll scroll over if it'll let me. Shoot. Oh, zoom too far. Because I'm just trying to show the stat line. There we go. Devontae Walker, 6 catches for 61 yards, no touchdowns, but I mean, on 8 targets as well. Devontae Walker was out there really proving and really contesting, I think, that wide receiver 4 spot, right? So currently, right now, if you take a list, you take stock of the Ravens wide receivers, you're talking Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, and then it gets a little bit tricky, right? You got Tylan Wallace in there, who is just Mr. Reliable, right? Always there. I mean, anything you throw Tylan Wallace's way, he pretty much catches it. I think he maybe had only one drop last season. He may have only had one drop over the last 2 seasons, to be honest with you, with how good and consistent Tylan Wallace is. Really an unsung hero on this team. He's won the Ravens some games before. Um, he has big play potential, but Devontae Walker, I think, has slightly better measurables. I think he's a little bit bigger than Tylan Wallace, which kind of forces you to think about what life could be like if Devontae Walker was consistently on the field. Like if he's on the field, think about who he's going to be matched up against. Like he's going to be getting some wide open looks. If not one on one, he's going to be getting some very very wide open looks for Lamar Jackson to throw him the football. So I think that Todd Monken, if he could, should try to get Tez Walker more, ingratiated with this offense and kind of like a bigger role. To be honest with you, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but I would love to see Tez Walker with just how hard he's worked. Number one, but then again, his hands are so good. His hands are great. He was out there catching everything coming his way, and it didn't really seem like the Cowboys had an answer for him early on. I'll say that. Let me see. All right, so let me see. 61 people watching live. Thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. But yeah, let me get back to my notes here. So Tez Walker had himself a day. What else did I take from this game? Let me see. LeJohntay Wester kind of struggled a little bit in this one, right? So LeJohntay Wester, he had himself an early drop. It was kind of ugly, and there was an interception that Cooper Rush threw. It was the first Cooper Rush interception that I thought LeJohntay Wester, because he was targeting LeJohntay Wester on the interception. I thought Wester could have contested that a little bit better, a little bit more. It seemed like he kind of gave up on the play a little bit. Like at the very least, you can turn into a DB because the ball was going towards. It was a bad throw, but the ball was going towards the defender, right? The DB. So when you're in that situation, and I'm sure the coaches are gonna coach him up about this. Like when you're in that situation, you see a bad ball coming your way, it's prime to get picked. You got to turn into a DB right there. Like don't give up on the play. You got to turn into a DB because that can quickly turn into a pick six, which it did. So it's just one of those things that has to be cleaned up. Apparently there was PI on that play though. I didn't really see it all that much, to be honest with you. I still my point still stands about LeJohntay Wester on that one. I'm very excited for him, but just some rookie things that he does have to clean up. I will say that for sure. But I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good. What else do we have here in my notes? Not too much from the offense. So Tyler Loop had himself a pretty good day. What was he, 5 for 6? I want to say he only missed one. He only missed one kick. And that was from 50. He missed one from 50, but he also hit one from 53. So the first kick he hit was from 29. Then he hit from 51. Then he hit from 42. Then he hit from 36. Then he missed from 50. And then to close the game, he hit from 53. So Tyler Loop had himself a good game. I was very impressed with what I saw from him. It was kind of like a homecoming for him. His family was at the game. It was very cool to see because he's actually from Texas. I grew up like 30 minutes away from the Dallas Cowboys stadium. So for him to go out there and go 5 or 6, and the one he missed, it was like he barely missed it. It wasn't a terrible miss, like he barely missed it. And again, it was from 50 yards, albeit in a dome, it's still 50 yards, and he's a rookie. So couldn't have asked for too much more from Tyler Loop. I think that the Ravens definitely wanted to. They were very intentional about getting Loop his reps yesterday, which I thought was important. I thought that was important. He went out there again, went 5 or 6, made some pretty long kicks under the bright lights in Dallas. You know, those fans are hyped. Texas loves football. So they were in there, and again, that was kind of his first taste of, his first taste of like on the road, kind of, I don't want to say high stakes, but everything under the lights feels more, intense. I'll just say that. Thea Pendle, the fourth in the house, says, what's going on, Purple Rain gang? What's going on, brother? Chris M is in the house, our member, our lovely member from the Purple Rain patrons group. Chris M is in the house. What's going on, Chris? Let me see who else we have in here. Killer Cam. My boy Killer Cam is in the house. Let me see. Thea Pendle the fourth says Ojabo is not making the 53. Ooh. So here's the thing. And I actually wanted to bring this up as well. I think that there's going to be some tough decisions made about offensive line and defensive line. And the reason why I say that is because it was actually reported from John Harbaugh after the game was over that the Ravens are going to be keeping 4 running backs, which means that the Ravens will be retaining Rasheen Ali. And I think that the idea is to keep him in on special teams. He'll probably be the primary kick returner, I want to say. And with that, there's going to be, some guys who are going to have to be expendable on the line. And one of those guys, David Ojabo, I'm sure is probably on the bubble right now. But let me actually just read through this roster decisions tweet by Sarah Ellison, talking about John Harbaugh in his presser last night. So number one, Harbaugh said that Tyler Loop is the official successor to Justin Tucker because he's quote unquote earned it. Number two, Rasheen Ali will make the team as the 4th running back, barring an unforeseen change. Number 3, Adisa Isaac, who went down in this game, has a dislocated elbow that will keep him out a few weeks. That could put him on IR to start the season and leave a spot for David Ojabo. So that's one thing. With Adisa Isaac out, I think that does kind of pave a way to maybe save Ojabo. If that hadn't happened, we might be having a different conversation right now. But moving on, Bo Braid is squarely on the roster bubble as well. And John Harbaugh still has to weigh that decision with a few other guys. So, definitely some decisions to be made still. Definitely some decisions to be made. Dre says here, yeah, I was thinking Ojabo might be out of here, but Adisa Isaac is hurt. Maybe that helps him. For sure. Olamide, what's going on? Says Wester did not help his case for being wide receiver 4. Yeah, man, I just got done talking about that. I mean, first game, he had the 87-yard touchdown. Everything seemed great. Yesterday, it wasn't really the same. Wasn't really the same energy. That drop that he had early on was just like it was very ugly to me. That's one that you have to have, but he's a rookie. So this is why he's getting these type of reps, in the preseason. He's obviously going to make the team. Todd Monken had already said that. As a punt returner, he'll probably start there. But he's going to have his opportunities to play wide out as well. And when he does get those shots, he's got to haul in those opportunities. So I think he'll be fine. 75 people watching live. Again, thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode of Quiet Storm Sports on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. My name is Sutton Def. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a like on this video. Again, I'll say that again. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a like on the video. That helps us out a ton. And also subscribe to the channel if you are new and if you're enjoying the content. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Got some new faces in here. Got some new faces in here. I always love to see new faces. Alumide's a new face in here. Let me see. I see Rome Raven. What's going on, Rome Raven? Says, knew I'd find all you here. What's going on? Let me see. We got Tisha Brown in the house. Thank y'all for coming through. Thank y'all for coming through. Okay, let me move on here. Let me move on here and let me actually change this. Let's see. Sorry, y'all. I'm an unk. I'm an unk now. It'd be hard for me to navigate my software sometimes. I need a PA here. I need a production assistant to help me out with some of this stuff. Like, no, seriously. All right. Well, I want to make you guys bigger on the screen. I want to make you guys bigger on the screen. So let me go ahead and move along here. Another thing that I took from, that I took notes on, I thought Dayton Wade looked good. Before I switch over to defense, I want to say Dayton Wade looked good. He hauled in a couple of passes. He looked like he was running hard out there, really trying to make the team. I love what I saw from him. Okay, so let's move on to the defense here. Let me move on to the defense. Defense was the highlight of this game for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, linebacker is one of the specific holes, one of the specific positions on this roster that has a hole right now. And I think that, a lot of Ravens fans are excited for year 2 of Trenton Simpson actually being in that, that starting role alongside Roquan Smith. However, I do love the competition that's in the room. And when I say the competition, I'm talking about Teddy Buchanan. What I saw from Teddy Buchanan last night was a hungry linebacker, for one, who's very instinctual and can actually cover in the passing game. I saw him dropping back in coverage and literally shadowing tight ends. I saw him shadowing pass catchers and, putting his back to the quarterback, like he was keeping up with guys. Like, I love his speed. Like, I love his intensity. I think there was a screen play that the Cowboys threw, and he just burst right through. Like, he reads it immediately, burst right through the edge that was set, and it's just like, and gets right to the ball carrier. I can't say enough about Teddy Buchanan, man. Like, I really think, I do think that he might be able to maybe steal that inside linebacker role from Trenton Simpson if Trenton Simpson does not perform well early in the season. I don't think that the Ravens are going to give Trenton Simpson a very long leash. If the middle of that defense is like the soft spot, right, that teams are going to, like if Josh Allen is killing us with Dawson Kincaid or Shakir or somebody like that week 1, and then all of a sudden we go to Cleveland, or they come to Baltimore, and David Njoku is killing us over the middle and things like that. I do think that there will be a switch made at linebacker, and I think Teddy Buchanan could be that answer. I really loved what I saw from him. Really loved what I saw from Teddy Buchanan in yesterday's game. Again, the defense, man, is I'm excited for this defense. I'm excited for Zach Orr in this defense. Another note that I took down, Zach Orr had a brilliant safety blitz when Dallas was on their own goal line. And you can tell that he wants to be more aggressive this season. So last season, the Ravens actually ranked 26th out of all 32 teams when it came to frequency of blitzes called, right? About 20% of the time, give or take. And I think that this year, with Zach Orr going into his second year being defensive coordinator for the Ravens, and him kind of understanding the assignment now and like knowing all the tools that he has at his disposal and how he can move them around, how he can make them work, there's not going to be as many growing pains. So I think what you're going to see is Zach Orr being a little bit more aggressive, right? I think you're going to see more blitzes. I think you're going to see more Kyle Hamilton rushing the quarterback and seeing him rush the quarterback. I think of course, it definitely helps that the Ravens have some pretty good pass rushers, for the most part. I don't want to get into what I always talk about when it comes to the pass rushers and the timing of the sacks that they get and all that. Like, the Ravens have to make sure that, you know, the back end can hold up. Because again, I think the blitzes are coming. I think the blitzes are coming this season. And if you don't believe me, listen, September 7th, come September 7th and beyond, you might have to spin back on this video, or you might have to come back and tell me that, like, hey, Sutton, you were right. I mean, Zach Orr is sending a lot of blitzes this season, because I think it's coming, man. I think what we've seen in the preseason so far and how aggressive he's willing to be, he's just kind of, and of course, he doesn't have his starters out there yet. I think he's gearing up to have one of those seasons where it's like, okay, take the training wheels off. There's no more training wheels like there were last year. I've got so many guys in the building, the Dean P's, the Chuck Paganos, like so many guys who have helped me get to this point. I ended the season very strong. And again, this is if I'm Zach Orr. I ended the season very strong. One of the best defenses in the league. It's time for me to take it to the next level. And again, I think that next level is unleashing, Adafe Owe, Kyle Van Noy. I think you could see some linebacker blitzes as well in there too. It's gonna be a very, very interesting start to the season. Just seeing how Zach Orr wants to call this defense, especially with all the pieces that he has at his disposal. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Let me see. Tisha Brown says, yes, they were talking about how masterful that safety blitz was. Isn't that what caused the safety? Absolutely. It was. Yes, that is what caused the safety. And that was pretty fun to see. Honestly, it reminded me of the week 1 sack that David Ojabo had on Anthony Richardson, where he just comes scot-free. This one was a little bit different. Again, the safety blitz, I think it was number 38. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look. Dre says, I hope our 4-man rush can be more dominant and we sprinkle those blitz packages here and there. Yeah, that's the goal, to be honest with you. And Mike Green is a guy who I didn't see a whole lot of, flash from him yesterday. But if you look in the numbers, right? If you look in the numbers, I think that you'll see some really good stuff from him. So I actually had this tweet bookmarked. I wanted to pull it up here so I can read it to you guys. So yeah, Baltimore Ravens rookie edge Mike Green through 2 preseason games, 30 pass rush snaps. He has an 86.4 pass rush grade in 30 pass rush snaps in the preseason. 86.4 pass rush grade. 5 total pressures so far, and a 30% pass rush win rate. This guy is looking good already. Now, granted, he doesn't have any sacks yet, and I would have loved for him to get one, at least one, in one of these first 2 games, right? But in the preseason, you're not going to have a whole lot of opportunities to really get in rhythm as a pass rusher. Especially considering the fact that Mike Green is considered, a fringe like starter, so like they're not going to play him for too long. And again, I think a lot of offenses try to keep things very, very vanilla, like one read stuff, a lot of running the football, that sort of thing. So you don't get too many opportunities, but the fact that he's winning his assignments, like that is what is important to see right now. And again, PFF, they had kind of Pro Football Focus, they had kind of broke down some of his stats and things like that. So let me see. It says here, and I found this interesting. They have his prospect model score. So this is like some sort of model that they've used to rank and score edge rusher. So his score is 8.58. And it says that 38% of prospects to score 8.5 or higher through 2024 have finished as top 12 edges. And 71.4% of prospects to score 8.5 or higher through 2024 have finished as top 24 edges. 81% have finished top 36. So I mean, it's looking like the signs are pointing to, albeit he has no sacks yet, right? He has no sacks yet in the preseason, but it's looking like this guy Mike Green, and hopefully again, like my guy Dre said, with the 4-man rush with him on the outside there, if he can win those matchups in the regular season and get home to the quarterback, or maybe even just force a bad throw or things like that, again, that's really all we're asking for. I said this last week. I said the Ravens don't need much from Mike Green, but really to just close games, right? Like 4-man rush. The Bills have 3rd and 8, right? We can drop back everybody in coverage. Do not give Josh Allen an easy time reading the football field, but at the same time still get pressure with a 4-man rush. That is what Mike Green I think is going to be for, especially in those late game situations. So if he can win in the regular season, I would love to see it. But so far, so good from him. So far, so good. Huddle Up Films, my guy Jason in the house, as we got almost 100 people watching live right now. Thank y'all. Welcome to the show. Jason says we cannot pay everyone next year. Mike Green will help us, will help allow us to replace Owe. Kyle, Lindy, Likely, Jones, and many other need contracts. That is true. That's true. I know they're working on Linderbaum and Hamilton actively. Owe, I said this last week. I think there's no way that Owe comes back if Mike Green has. Oh, so let me ask you guys this. How many sacks do you think that Mike Green would have to have in his rookie season in order for the Ravens to just no brainer? We're moving off of Owe. How many sacks do you think Mike Green would have to have in order for the Ravens to just, not even think twice about moving off Odafe Owe? I want to know. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you're not watching this episode of the show live and you're part of the hashtag replay gang, shout out to you. Thank you so much for joining the show. Again, my name is Sutton Def. If you've never been here, this is the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, and this segment is the Quiet Storm Sports segment of the show. Dre says 8 sacks. 8 sacks. Okay, so that's what I was thinking. I was thinking 7 or 8. I was thinking 7 or 8. So Dre says 8. Let me see. You got Carl in the house. Carl says 7. Killer Cam says 6 or 7. Denise says 4. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about 4. I mean, if he only grabs 4 sacks, I mean, it depends on how much they play him, right? I don't expect him to be, a huge, to get a huge, like, heavy workload early on in the season, just based off of the track record of the Ravens and how they like to kind of ease their young guys in a little bit, kind of keep the training wheels on a little bit longer than usual. But 4 sacks to me is a little bit too low, especially if Odafe Owe was to go out there and get another 10. If he gets another 10 piece like he did last year and Mike Green only gets 4, I think it'll be hard to justify moving Owe out of town. But I agree with point hits it right here on the dot, at least 7 to 8. 7 to 8 sacks. 7 to 8 sacks would probably be ideal. That would be, yeah. I mean, for a rookie, that's really all you can ask for. I mean, 7 to 8 sacks, and if he looks really good, especially if some of those sacks come in like crunch time, because again, I think that a lot of the heavy lifting on the defensive line, in terms of the edge rushers at least, is going to be on Owe and Van Noy. So I think that going into like the second half and like third and fourth quarter is really where Mike Green is going to make his money, where he's going to come in and he's going to be fresh, right? He's going to be fresh. And just be able to pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. And that is going to be something that I cannot wait. I cannot wait to lay eyes on as a Ravens fan, man. I just can't. But I agree. 7 to 8 sacks, and then they can move off of Owe. I agree. Chris says they can't double him and Beaks. He's gonna have a lot of people getting sack numbers. That was another thing. I think that Matabike and Travis Jones on that interior, that's going to eat up a lot of those defenders. So your guard, center guard, at least one of those guards is going to have to really, really help out with one or the other. And with that being said, like kind of shrinking in the line like that, it's going to leave opportunities open on the outside. I think that's another big reason why you saw guys like Kyle Van Noy and Odafe Owe have so much success last season, because the interior part of our defensive line, when they're healthy, is very good. Is very good. Again, I do think that Michael Pierce will be missed, especially in the run defense, in the run stopping game, because that was a very, very big body who it was very, very hard to get around him for so many years. And he was one of the highest graded, if not the highest graded defensive lineman on the Ravens last season. Right up there with Matabike and Travis Jones. So do with that what you will. I think the Ravens will feel that. Jason says we got hella depth at defensive line and edge been showing this preseason. Yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see. I'm still a little bit concerned about the defensive line depth in terms of like how viable those options will be if they were needed to start, you know. Um, let me see what else we got here. How long of a recovery is the elbow? I think they said a couple of weeks, Tisha. I think they said a couple of weeks for Isaac, Adisa Isaac. Let me see what else you guys got. Mike getting some of the attention right now. I love the Matabike love, man. Love the Matabike love. All right. What other notes do I have from this game? What other notes? What else? What else? What else? Okay. Jamal Banks was robbed of a touchdown. Rasheen Ali had a bad drop, really bad drop, turned into a pick. Hated to see that. Yeah, that was all I had from the game on that front. Let me see. Like the video. Make sure you like the video before I go ahead and transition here into my next topic. I wanted to talk about some Cleveland Browns. I want to talk some Browns because I watched that Browns versus Eagles game yesterday. Honestly, it feels very, very weird right now that the Browns are like must-see TV, right? Like, of course, Shador Sanders, he didn't play. I was, heavily anticipating, earlier in the week for him to play. Of course, it came out that he strained his oblique or something like that, and which is, not something that you want to mess with, especially for a quarterback. You need that torque in the midsection. So I understood him being out, but Dylan Gabriel started this game, and Dylan Gabriel actually, when he started the game, he didn't look too bad. So his first drop back, he took a sack. And then I was like, oh God, like this is not going to be good, right? Because the thing about the biggest knock on Dylan Gabriel is that he's a smaller guy. They have him listed as 5'11", but honestly, he doesn't even look that tall. Or maybe just all the other quarterbacks in the league are just super freaking tall. I don't know. It's one or the other, but he doesn't look all that. Hang on. Getting a call. Hold on, getting a call. Oh, crap. Sorry, guys. The missus called. The missus called me. She didn't know I was on live. All good, though. All good. Her birthday's tomorrow. So, But anyways, let's go ahead and get back to what we were talking about here. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. The Browns and Dylan Gabriel. So Dylan Gabriel, he started off pretty good. He was completing some passes. Again, the biggest knock on him is that he's a smaller guy, and I think that that'll really end up being, his plague in the league. He's a lefty as well. He really reminded me of Tua, honestly. He kind of looked like Tua Tagovailoa out there. A lefty, smaller framed quarterback who, he was throwing some of these out routes which got to the point like they were complete, but like they look like ducks. I don't know if you guys saw it, but like they look like ducks coming out of his hand. Not the type of ball that would cut through, some wind in January, right? Or late December. Like just I don't see what the Browns see in Dylan Gabriel. And again, a lot of his throws, I mean, they were on time, they were accurate, but again, he just doesn't seem like the type of quarterback who you're going to grow your franchise with, right? He doesn't seem like the type of quarterback who's going to stand the test of time throughout a season and be there in January and be able to make throws down the field and really see over the offensive line. I mean, you gotta roll out the pocket. You gotta get him out the pocket a lot of times just so he can see over the offensive line. Like the guys in the trenches are huge and he's not. He's a smaller man. He's a smaller man. And again, man, I just think that the Browns have a decision to make when it comes to quarterback because, of course, we know Joe Flacco is not the long-term answer. Now, if Joe Flacco goes out there and see, that's the thing. In order for the Browns to be any sort of, you know, good this season, they're going to need their defense to really pull most of the weight because their offense has nothing special. Their offense is nothing special. Um, so they're going to need their defense to pull most of the weight. And Joe Flacco doesn't have the type of upside to really will a team to another Super Bowl, at least not in 2025. He can win you some games, but you're going to have a damn good defense to back it up. So I don't know. If it were me, I would still, start Joe Flacco, but I would put Shador Sanders firmly and securely in that QB2 spot, for multiple reasons. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to get into it again, man. It's just, it's a no brainer. Jason says height matters for quarterbacks. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see. Jason says my son had a virtual reality football game. He tried playing as Kyler Murray, and it was crazy. Tough to see the field. Wow, that's crazy that they let you do that. That's actually pretty interesting. I would love to try that. But no, I mean, I I don't understand why, the Browns have so much faith and confidence in a Dylan Gabriel right now. And again, it's nothing against the guy. Nothing against the guy. He's played a lot of college ball. I think like 5-6 years in college. Went from school to school to school. He's got a bunch of different experience. I get that. And maybe mentally, maybe he's more ready. Again, I'm not in Brown's training camp or anything like that, but like maybe mentally, like learning the playbook and kind of learning the scheme and things like that. Maybe he's ahead of Shador Sanders, and that's why he's still considered their QB2 behind Joe Flacco. But to me, all signs point towards Shador, over Gabriel, because Shador in his first preseason game, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dylan Gabriel in his first preseason game, no touchdowns, 2 turnovers. And again, it's not to say that he wasn't making any throws and things like that, but and he was moving the chains. Some of his throws look good, but a lot of them just kind of looked like, okay, yeah, he can play quarterback, right? But like, is he like potential starting caliber in this league? I didn't really see it. Didn't really see it. Let me see what else you guys are saying here. Trying to figure out how he's better than Shador. Me too, Dre. Me too. Me too. Chris says, happy birthday to the missus. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Chris says, Cooper is unhappy in Baltimore. He looks sad and uncomfortable. Give me Snoop over both of them. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. 90 people watching live. Again, thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode of the show. Make sure you like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well, because a lot more Ravens content coming from this channel. All right, so let me get into something a little different, right? A little different. I want to talk about UFC319. I do. And I've already been on here for almost an hour, so I think it's about time for me to get into it. So I'm not going to talk about the entire card because I did love the card. I loved it. I thought it was a very, very good UFC card, very good event. However, the main event was a buzzkill. So in the main event, Khamzat Chimaev defeated Dricus du Plessis by unanimous decision. It was the most unanimous of all unanimous decisions. It was not even close. And Dricus did not win a round. He did not win. He barely even won an exchange. They barely even got into exchanges. Like that was the thing. Literally at the beginning of every single round, there's 5 rounds in a UFC main event. At the beginning of every single round, Khamzat Chimaev just walked up towards Dricus du Plessis and just took him down. He just basically wrestled him to the ground, and he held him there for minutes at a time. And it was just so, and I'll say this, as a hardcore MMA fan, it was so high level to see how just kind of like stuck Dreykus was, like how dumbfounded he was on the ground. Like there was nothing for him to do. He had no answers, nowhere for him to go. I was in shock, really, watching for 25 minutes as Dreykus really had no answer. So really what happened in this fight was, he would take him down, but not only that, once Khamzat took Dreykus down, and one very underrated and key component to Hamzat's game, and the reason why his game plan was so genius, it was the knee strikes to the back of the legs of Dreykus. So, and you guys, if you guys watch the fight, you know what I'm talking about. Like he would drag him up against the fence and like just kind of hold his weight on top of him, making Dreykus carry him, but then also kneeing him behind his thighs. So, in order to stand up from the ground, like if somebody takes you down, in order to stand up, what is like the main muscle that you need? You need your legs, you need your base, right? So while Hamzat has him on the ground, he's beating up his base, he's weakening his base. Like I was thinking about it last night. I was just like, look, there he goes again. He probably landed like, I don't know, like 200 knee strikes to the back of the leg. And I was just thinking to myself, like, he's just tenderizing that meat. Pause, right? Just tenderizing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just beating up his legs, beating up his thighs, beating him up so he can't stand back up. And that accumulative damage really took a toll on Dreykus throughout the fight, to the point where he would get dragged down and he would just kind of accept the position on the ground. I mean, Hamzat put him in what's called a crucifix, where basically uh, you have your opponent like this. Like you have both of their arms stretched out, and like you're controlling both of their arms, and you still have an arm free. So you just have free range to just hit them, like punch them in the face. That only happens. It's very rare. It's very rare. And it's like, I don't know how I could put it in like NFL terms if I had to. But it's just embarrassing. Like it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. It just doesn't happen like that. Like to get dominated to that degree, because he put him in a crucifix like 4 or 5 times. To get dominated to that degree was just absolutely embarrassing, I think, if you're Dreykus, because he just had no answer, no game plan. In between rounds, he would, get up and smile. Dreykus would. He would get up and smile, walk back to his corner, and pretend like everything was like okay. Like, he felt like he still had a chance. But it was frustrating to me as the watcher for him to literally get up between every round, like, okay, like that was nothing, like shake it off, like I'm smiling, like I'm telling my coaches, like I can do this, like I'm gonna do this, just for him to go back out the next round and accept being taken down. And of course, it wasn't just like, you know, uh, of course, you got to tip your cap to Hamzat, because Hamzat was the one who was just relentless with the wrestling, and that's what he does. Like I said it before, he chain wrestles you, like he'll wrestle you, wrestle you, wrestle you, and as soon as you even get a little bit of space, he's right back on your hips trying to wrestle you, wrestle you, wrestle you, and like that is absolutely exhausting. And there were a lot of talks going into this fight about, will Hamzat be able to last 5 rounds going at the pace that he does, because we all know when Hamzat starts a fight, he goes full speed ahead, 100 miles an hour, all gas, no brakes. What was he going to look like in a 5 round fight, which we've never seen him in before? And he had, I've heard, an amazing training camp where he worked on his conditioning and his cardio to the point where, you know, in this fight, it never looked like he was gassing out. It never looked like he was getting tired. I know Dreykus had a moment there at the end, but that was like pretty much like Hail Mary stuff. You know what I mean? Like he tried to get him in a guillotine. He actually took his back for a second and was trying to sink in a rear naked choke, which when that happened, I jumped up off of my couch and like my eyes were just like super wide. I was like, if Dreykus finishes this fight, if he chokes him out in the last round after getting dominated the entire fight, like I don't know what I would have did, but that would have been absolutely nuts. It would have been nuts. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Let me see. Crucifix every round is crazy, says Carl. Yeah, man. It was wild, bro. It was wild. Like it just showed you that there's levels to it. There's levels to this. Like you cannot take for granted how good Khamzat Chimaev's wrestling is. And I know my guy Alex. You guys know my co-host Alex. He said the other day, he said he doesn't like Khamzat's fighting style. And I understand and this is no slight to Alex or disrespect to Alex, to a casual fan of MMA, which Alex is, and he'll tell you that, and I am as well. But I used to be more of a hardcore fan, so I still have kind of like that understanding, like, but to a casual fan, and I kind of felt the same way, like that's not entertaining. Like I don't want to watch, two guys on the ground for 25 minutes. Like I would rather them stand up and, trade, trade strikes. Like that's what you would want. You would want them to stand up and fight. But you can't take for granted that type of control, right? Because that what we saw last night for 25 minutes straight was not supposed to happen. I think Khamzat had a total of 22 minutes total of control time. That's not supposed to happen. That is ridiculously hard, and that's a spectacle in itself. That is a feat in itself. Being able to hold another grown man, a champion at that, to hold him down and not let him get up and continuously threaten submissions and put him into crucifixes. Like you never see crucifixes. Like I can't stress that enough. You never see crucifixes, especially at this level. Like guys just aren't bad enough to get put in that position. So the fact that he put the champion in that position 4 to 5 times in one fight, it was crazy. Now, another knock that people had for Chimaev, and I do agree with this. I feel like, yes, Chimaev did win the belt, and I'm about to get to the comments, guys, I promise. But yes, Chimaev did win the belt. However, I do think that he lost a little bit of aura. I think he lost a little bit of aura. Not a lot, but I think he lost a little bit of aura. And then the only reason I say that is because, it's one thing if your fighting style is to, wrestle a guy, take him down, choke him out, beat him up, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and try to end the fight as quick as possible. That's entertaining. And yes, we do love to see that. But it's another thing if you have all this control time on the ground, but you're not, forcing the issue to finish the fight, if you know what I mean. It seemed like at times Khamzat was comfortable just kind of keeping Dreykus in his world of just like, I've got you down and you're not getting back up. And I don't care if I can't put out as much offense on the ground, as long as I can keep you here on the ground, and just kind of make this suck for you. I'm good with that. And as a viewer, I was like, okay, just if you have the advantage over him in the grappling, which you do, just finish the fight. Finish the fight there. I mean, I feel like there were multiple opportunities for all the crucifixes that he got him in. You could have got him in an Americana multiple times, which he tried, but like, finish the fight. Chase the rear naked. I know he didn't want to make any mistakes and end up losing his position, but I don't really see that there's no consequence in you losing a position because Mark Goddard stood him up twice in that fight when it should not have been stood up. Stood him up twice. And what happened shortly thereafter, Khamzat just put him right back down on his butt. So I just don't understand why Khamzat wasn't recklessly going for a finish, especially since he knew, like, okay, even if I try a move here on the ground or to try to get to a more dominant position so I can finish him, even if he escapes from that and we get back up on our feet, I'm just going to put him back down on his butt and there's nothing he can do to stop me. That's what kind of annoyed me about Khamzat's game plan. It seemed like he was comfortable being comfortable. Let me see. Props to DDP because I thought he was finished when he crucifixed him. Yeah, I thought after the first time, I thought Khamzat was going to get him out of there because that's just such a dominant position. But again, Khamzat didn't. He didn't finish the fight. He didn't go for it. Let me see. Killer Cam says, I think because I train, I see things different. Be shocked. And I wouldn't be shocked if he beats or loses versus Fluffy or RDR. Fluffy had a nice win last weekend. His cardio was great, didn't look tired at any point. No, he did not. Honestly, neither guy really looked. I mean, both of their cardio was great last night, to be honest with you. DDP getting beat up that whole time, you know. Sue Taryn says you got to read at least one chat during this time. Oh, you're on Kick. Shout out to you, man, from Kick. Shout out to you. Forgot we're live on Kick right now. Let me see. My guy Sue Taryn. Yeah, you're right. Let me read your stuff. Let me read your stuff, brother. You said something up here. They were talking MMA, UFC. What's your thoughts on them going off of pay-per-view? Yeah, I talked about that last week on the show. It was I love it. It's great for the fans. Great for the fans. The fact that they're going from the pay-per-view model to now premium live events, so PLE. I love that because number one, it's going to be on Paramount and CBS. So I think it's like at the most $13 a month, and you get every single fight. Plus, you get the entire Paramount catalog as well. That's a pretty sweet deal, as opposed to paying $80 a month for pay-per-view per month. I mean, that's a no-brainer there. I do think that, you know, the UFC should shrink their roster in order to kind of increase the competition, you know, because right now there's a lot of guys who are getting paid pennies, and there's a lot of guys who at the very beginning of fight cards, you just kind of look at their fights and just think like, okay, I don't really see this guy as UFC high level. I mean, these can all be high level professional guys, but like I feel like the UFC should be saved for the cream of the crop, you know. And if we're gonna be switching to this model where you're not really worried about selling pay-per-views anymore, give us some higher quality fights, man. Give us some quality over the quantity. That's what I want. That's what I would want. Killer Cam says I'm more disappointed in DDP. And yeah, let me speak on that for a second, Cam, because I am too. Because there was a point, I think it was in the 5th round, where, you know, surprise, surprise, Khamzat has his back, and DDP just decides to stand up. Like literally, just like he's like, all right, no, like kind of like Derek Lewis style. Like literally, okay, like I'm just gonna stand up now. Like just kind of rolls over, posts up in the middle of the octagon, and just stands up. And you know, I think he reverses Khamzat after that. And I'm just like, where was this in round 1, 2, 3, and 4? Like, where was this? And again, maybe this was just like the Hail Mary adrenaline, but at the same time, it's just like, bro, I feel like DDP waited way too long for Khamzat to slow down. I think he was waiting for Khamzat to slow down and like really like, you know, so he could settle into his game plan, but it just never happened. And like, you can't count on that. And it's funny because I was watching DDP. He did an interview before the fight. He went on somebody's podcast or show, MMA show or something. And he was saying like, you know, he doesn't train assuming that, you know, Khamzat is gonna gas after a certain time in the fight, after a certain point in the fight. He doesn't train assuming that, but that's what it seemed like your game plan was. You know, if I'm talking to Dreykus, and this is why I say I'm disappointed in him too. That's what it seemed like your game plan was to just kind of weather the storm, wait it out, you know. And I don't know. The storm never ended. The storm never ended. He was terrible at scrambling. Yeah, man. I thought he was gonna be better. I thought he was gonna be a lot better at scrambling. That was like honestly the reason why I thought Dreykus would win. That's the reason why I picked him to win, because I figured when he was on the ground, if he decided to get up, he was just going to use pure raw brute strength to get to at least a position where he could scramble. And we know how awkward he is in scrambling and how his movements are and things like that. And he'd be able to shake Khamzat off of him. And by the time that they got, you know, sweaty, because when you get sweaty, it's a lot harder to hold a guy when you know, there's a lot of sweat. I thought that was when the tide was going to turn for the fight, but Khamzat was just on him all fight, like white on rice, and it just never let up. He never let up. So yeah, I was definitely more disappointed with Dreykus than I was with Khamzat, because Khamzat, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He did what he was supposed to do. Wasn't advancement or damage. Cam, I guess you're disagreeing with me here when you say that when I said that the ref shouldn't have stood him up. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have stood him up, bro. Like I'm gonna stand by that because if I see you're getting taken down over and over and over again, and you can't say that there was no advancement because at the end of the day, he was landing strikes. If you look at the total strike numbers, I think Khamzat landed over like 500 something strikes. Now, again, they weren't super hard hitting, damaging strikes, and that's where I would put the indictment on Khamzat. I would say like, hey, bro, like just get yourself to a slightly more dominant position so you can really rain down some heavy shots and get this guy out of here. But at the end of the day, he's scoring points with those shots. He's scoring points with those shots. And with that being said, you can't just stand guys up because it kind of looks like a stalemate when it's really not. I mean, Hamzat's scoring. He's scoring. I'm sorry, it just is what it is. And as long as you're scoring, you have the right to that position. That's the rule. That's the rule. The new rule set. Yeah, he was definitely flat-footed. He was definitely flat-footed for sure. For sure. And DDP looked good that last round. Again, man, the Hail Mary round, Dre. The Hail Mary round. No, they actually changed it. What did they change it to? What did they change it to? Because I don't. Yeah, let me know what that rule is because I haven't heard of them of you not being able to, uh, you know, hold a position on the ground just because you're not, you know, doing any. Let me see. You have to have an advancement or significant strikes. But that's another thing too. He was advancing, so he was doing both. I mean, that's the thing about Khamzat. That's why his wrestling is so high level because he was doing things. He was almost like an octopus, right? Like he's sinking in hooks at the same time he's punching your face, although albeit not significant strikes. But I don't know. To me, I would consider uncontested strikes to the ear as significant strikes. That's just me because there was a lot of times where he had him in that crucifix, right? And he was hitting him with, the peppering shots, but like they're right here on the ear, just bouncing off the ear. I mean, those add up. Those are significant to me. Like you can't just like give it like take a position away from a guy just because like that just doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. Um and every fighter that I've heard talk about it, since the fight happened, has said the same thing. And I agreed watching it in real time. Like you cannot stand these guys up just because one guy's getting his ass kicked on the ground. But Khamzat, like I said, he was advancing. He said there really wasn't advancing. I mean, you have to go back and watch, bro. I'm telling you, man. I wish we could watch it together, Cam. I wish we could, but obviously, with it being on pay-per-view, can't watch it. Maybe when Paramount comes along, maybe we can do a little something. Who knows? I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, it was a great fight. I thought that it was a good fight. I thought that Khamzat really, really showed his dominance in that one. And honestly, it kind of again, and where I said like his aura kind of depleted a little bit, it kind of diminished a little bit. Because as an MMA fan, what are you thinking after that fight? What are you thinking like is next for Khamzat? Is there anybody, and I know like RDR with his jiu-jitsu and things like that is maybe might be a viable opponent, but I don't think there's anybody right now in the middleweight division who can go with this guy. I just don't see it, man. I do not see it. I feel like anybody who would go against this guy right now would get ragdolled, dragged down, and just mauled. Honestly, he had more competition at 170 when he was welterweight. I mean, Gilbert Burns gave him a tough time. Kamaru Usman on 5 days notice gave him a tough time. So I don't know if it's just the skill level at middleweight right now, but man, because I know for sure it's not going to be Sean Strickland. I know it's not going to be Sean Strickland. I know Kyle Bahalo and Imavov, Nasruddin Imavov, they're going to fight in a couple of weeks, possibly for a number one contender spot. But excuse me, I don't see either of those guys getting it done against Khamzat either. So it just kind of leaves more questions than anything, to be honest with you. Like, because to me, it's like if Hamza wanted to keep up his star power, he should have finished Dricus last night. He should have finished him, but he didn't. So now I think it kind of takes some steam off of his next fight, which is rumored that he might be back in the octagon as soon as October, perhaps, which would be amazing. That's only a couple months away. Um, but yeah, man, it's just gonna be. Yeah, again, I don't see anyone beating him. Killer Cam says he thinks Fluffy and RDR can beat him. I, I would like to see it. I would like to see it. Again, more questions than answers to me at least. But again, good night of fights. I thought the Leron Murphy knockout was really, really nice. That was sick, man. I watched that one and I pretty much hopped out my seat when I saw that. That spinning elbow was nasty on Aaron Pico. Nasty. Carlos Prates got the finish over Jeff Neal with an elbow as well. That was really cool to see. Excited for Carlos Prates making a bounce back in the division. But yeah, great night of fights. MVP, Michael Venom Page, he had a good showing against Jarrett Cannonier. I mean, I thought that my only thing with MVP is that I wish he was, and they said he was more aggressive last night than he's been in past fights. I'd have to go back and watch some more of his past fights as well. I've seen them, but I just haven't seen them in a while. But I would like for him to be a little bit more aggressive, right? I would like for him to put together combinations a little bit more than he does. Like I get it, the showmanship, and he seems very, very tough to figure out. That's for sure. Like I wouldn't want to strike with the guy. I mean, because you just never know what's coming and from where, and then he's taunting you, and that's a mental thing. And you can tell like Jared Cannonier just really didn't know what to do. He had a really hard time, just like a lot of other guys who fight MVP had a really hard time getting the timing down when it comes to fighting a guy like that. So, but you saw when he finally got MVP on the ground, he pretty much squashed him like a bug, just wouldn't let him get up, and there was nothing MVP could do there. So, MVP is just one of those fighters where he's kind of got like a clear ceiling, if you know what I mean. So we'll see what happens next. It's rumored that he might want to fight Carlos Prates, which I think would be a phenomenal fight. Would love to see that. But again, man, great night of fights. Cam also says he was dominant, but it wasn't unbeatable to me. Khamzat, if we're talking Khamzat, that looked unbeatable, bro. That looked unbeatable because it's just, and again, like you know what this guy does, and nobody's able to stop it. Like I don't see any of these other guys like stuffing Khamzat's takedowns and really like shutting down the chain wrestling. Yeah, I mean, one of these guys could be dangerous if Khamzat like hops in their guard, but you know, Hamza, if anything, he's gonna get to half guard. He's gonna try to get to your back any way possible, and he's always gonna be threatening the neck. So I don't know. It's just tough, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there for this episode of Quiet Storm Sports as part of the Purple Rain podcast YouTube channel. Again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming out. Make sure you like this video, leave a like on it, then also subscribe to the channel if you're new here on the YouTube. If you're watching on X, shout out to you. Love our viewers over on X. And then if you're watching on Kick, shout out to you as well. Appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming through. And with that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.